It's time for Screen Junkies Movie Fights.
This episode is brought to you by Verizon Wireless.
So I got it looked at, and turns out it was benign. Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Movie Fights Live. We are live today. We are back in full effect. Yes, we are doing it. Oh, my Lord. What hast thou wrought? I gotta give a shout out to all the fools in Owl Nation. Hoot, hoot, hashtag Owl Nation. Where my Gahooligans at? Percival the Owl, and all that stuff. All right, we got an awesome movie fight today. A big, jam-packed, fully loaded movie fights. Let's meet our fighters. First off, this gentleman is the managing editor of Fandom, and he is an all-around movie brainiac, Eric Goldman.
Thanks, guys. I think this is my third movie fight, so we'll see how it goes. But
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, don't play possum or anything. You come in and you do the damn thing. Yeah, like you dropped the hammer at that. The first one was at a convention, right? And, yeah, cool shirt, by the way.
Thank
I like
you very
that
much.
Musical.
I got ready for Disney. You know.
Nicely done. Next up, she is a host for El Rey Nation, a member of the sketch comedy group Night Church. Welcome to the party, VANESSA GRITTON.
Yay! Happy to be here.
Yeah. And another cool T-shirt right there. Reanimator. Classic pulpy horror film from the 80s.
I love it.
Awesome. VANESSA, excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
And I'm always excited to sit across either the movie fights table or the dinner table from my biological father.
Yes, my son.
And you know him from all over the place, Scott Mantz.
Oh, Hal Rudnick, my son. It is great to see you. And yes, I am your father.
No! Yeah, I remember the moment when we were on Maury and he came out with the DNA test. You are the father.
So excited to be back here on Movie Fights, and great to see both of you, Eric and VANESSA.
Yay,
yeah, good times.
So
deciding these fights will be myself and the Dan Cam. We got a couch full of Dans. Dan Murrell, what's going on, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, real good, real good. You ready to take us to the fact zone today?
I will do my best.
Heck yeah. And, I'm so excited that we have just an amazing lady, but also in the capacity of just being a conduit for the people, the voice of the people, Danielle Radford. Please tell us what's going on.
That's right. We are live today, which means I am back in my capacity as the voice of the people. As per usual, after everyone has given their initial answers, the polls will go up. So you will have until right around, the topic is about to end for you to put in your votes, and that vote is a tiebreaker vote. So if everybody here, if we can't get our stuff together, then you become the arbiter or one of the arbiters of that round. I will also be checking for any cool comments, other ideas, alternate answers, memes, any of that stuff. So
Dank memes.
In the chat. Go ahead and find us on Movie Fights Live, the hashtag, and we'll see you there. We're really excited. And if you have any questions about how the poll works, ping someone in the chat or click in the description down below.
Yeah, post those dank memes. Oh, yeah, a little shot of Ryan. Nice. Ryan O'Toole. Yeah, producing. Billy Biz in the booth. Very exciting. Yes, post those dank memes and then DM me those stank memes. I don't know what that means. Okay, so we have 5 main round questions, 5 speed round questions, and we determined this. It's the first person. We had a little back and forth about this the last episode, but it's the first person to 6 points is our winner. First person to 6 points.
All right.
That's what we decided right before we went live.
Okay.
All right. You guys ready to jump into the fun?
Let's do this.
Billy, is there a sick-ass package to drop?
Prepare to die. Ladies and gentlemen. No. It's main event time.
Thank you, Thor. Thank you, Thor. You Ragnarok. Terrible.
Good one,
okay,
Al.
here is so there's a major Disney film dropping this weekend, opening up Frozen 2. So we're asking you, in honor of that, the best animated Disney villain. Who is it? Oh, man. So many good ones to choose from. Whoo-wee. Best animated Disney villain. So we'll get some opening statements and start it off with Eric Goldman.
No one fights like Gaston, and no one villainizes villains let's say villainizes like Gaston. That's what I gotta go with. The thing about Gaston that stands out to me is subversion. Is at the time, Disney villains were pretty obviously villains the moment they walked on screen. Here you have the archetype of a hero. He's strong, he's dashing, the town loves him, but guess what? You shouldn't trust him. It showed you a lot about don't trust the surface of things. There could be other things going underneath. The fact that he is so insidious, the fact that he is trying to get sort of the mob rule behind him, the fact that he is the devil in sheep's clothing because he is just like the guy in town, the guy everyone's cheering on, but no, he's actually a really, really nasty guy. I think Gaston really stands out because he took everything you kind of knew about what a Disney film was and what these people look like and really flipped it on its head.
All right, flipping the script.
Good
Gaston.
job, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, yes, Scott gives you a thumbs up. Vanessa.
Well, if Gaston is dashing, then Ursula is thick with 2 C's. Not only that, but she's a villain that has already at the beginning of the film established she's already won. Look at how many souls that she's collected. Every villain's been defeated, but she's been getting away with it for a long time. Not only that, she's convincing. She manages to convince Ariel and everyone around her that she's good, that she's reformed, that she's a better person now before snatching her once again. And honestly, unless your villains are aquatic dwelling, you can't even really mess with Ursula on her turf without drowning. So
Boom. Don't mess with.
Great job, Vanessa.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, I see Scott's strategy. All right, Scott, who do you like?
Okay, so see, the reason I say great job to both of you, because none of you can top Scar from The Lion King. This is the 1994 Lion King, just wanted to say. But so Scar, first of all, his name is Scar. Scar right there signifies some sort of bloodshed that is about to take place in this movie, and a lot of bloodshed does take place in this movie. You have a character that murdered his brother, banished his nephew, just let his entire kingdom be destroyed, all because he was spurned because he was not chosen to be the king. This movie, The Lion King, it is both biblical and it is Shakespearean. Things that no other Disney animated movie has had probably since Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
All right, we'll fact check that and perhaps fight it out, everybody.
Well done, Scott. But you're wrong.
Oh, I see what you're doing there.
But you're wrong. Look, these are cool villains too, but they're so transparent. I mean, Scar, just look at him. Look at the company he keeps with the hyenas. Ursula's got her eels. Gaston's just got a fool named LeFou hanging out with him. You wouldn't suspect him. He has so much more coming in from underneath that where people are not looking at him, whereas Scar just projects villainy. Yes, he kind of gets by because he's a family member, but people know not to really trust him. Gaston is just way more insidious as far as getting an entire town. You were talking about Ursula. Yes, she can get people to follow her, but can she get an entire town to follow, all screaming kill the beast? That is the cult of personality. That is the cult of Gaston, and whatever it is, he has it, and that's a dangerous thing, and that's what makes him stand out so much.
if you've ever been a lady alone at the bar, you know to watch out for a dude like Gaston because you can't read alone without him trying to be in your face. He is insidious from the moment that he walks in, sure, but also he's immortal, and he's immortal in he's like not like immortal, he's immortal in old-timey times, which means he could be felled by a cold, and he also has about the same lifespan as Scar does, because honestly, a lion and a human that could be felled by a cold, they have 20-30 years tops. Not only that, but Scar had Hamlet and Mussolini to look at for how he could have done better and still didn't do better. Ursula, on the other hand, she can honestly really come off like a sweet auntie. She can come off like somebody that really does want better for you, and that's what makes her so menacing, because at the end of the day, she could be Patty or Selma. She could just be the old spinster living with her old cats, but she's so much more dangerous than that.
I hear your arguments, and again, I respect your opinions here. I respect that Ursula and Gaston are evil, but they're the kind of evil characters that you love to hate, just like maybe Darth Vader in Star Wars. But Scar is just, he's evil. You hating him. You don't want to like him at all. Again, you're talking about a character, regardless of how long his lifespan is, he let his entire kingdom be destroyed. Animals died. His brother died. He killed in cold blood. He murdered his brother. No other Disney villain, especially the ones that you're mentioning, could do that. So while your choices are noble, they don't top the violence and the bloodshed caused by Scar. That is, you just can't top that.
What makes Gaston stand out so much, I think, is that his normalcy, that he is just a human. Yes, he can be killed by a cold, but the thing is, he represents intolerance. And that's something that is very, relatable to everyone, because that's the thing, just this normal guy, but if he can get the mob behind him and they're all shouting kill the beast because he just doesn't like this guy because he's different, that's what's so awful about him. So yeah, he's not trying for, to conquer the world, to conquer the kingdom, but that's the thing, is that these people are everywhere that have the same mindset as Gaston, and that's what makes him really so compelling as a villain, is the fact that right next to you at the bar could be a guy who has such a awful thing inside him.
Gaston wants a French village. Scar wants a pride of lions. Ursula wants the ocean. There's more of that than there's actual land. The Mariana Trench we know less about than outer space itself, and Ursula wants that. Not only that, if we're going by villain songs, Gaston, good song. Scar, incredible song. But also, Jeremy Irons could actually only do most of, not, I think 80% of the beginning of the song, and then his voice let out, so actually the voice for Winnie the Pooh had to go in and finish the rest of the song. Ursula, beginning to end, poor unfortunate souls, all her.
Regardless of who finished that song, Jeremy Irons' dialogue, he's just so deliciously evil. Never trust a lion with an English accent. And again, regardless of the size of the kingdom, because obviously the ocean, water makes up 7/10 of the earth. A kingdom is a kingdom, and there's something about Scar that is inspired by Hitler and Mussolini and by all the great dictators, and that they were so selfish and self-absorbed and obviously very, very troubled internally. But again, when you're talking about a character that has no remorse to kill, blood shed, to have their own blood for the sake of their own power, again, that's something that transcends animation.
We're going to shift gears. We're going to go to final thoughts. Eric, please give us any closing thoughts.
Thinking back about your metaphor about the guy at the bar, yes, Belle sees through him because Belle's awesome, but talking about songs, Gaston, you see it right there. He gets that whole bar behind him so quickly that is what his power is. That hey, he is charming and funny to some people, a lot of people actually, and that is how he can get just your normal everyday Joe, those people sitting at the bar, to suddenly do something awful in his name, that he can turn it all around. And the thing is that these other characters, yes, it's they're talking animals or they're underwater creatures. That's not really relatable to us, but Gaston, he is very relatable to us in all the scary ways. It's you can think wow, I probably know a Gaston, and that's really terrifying. That's what makes him stand out so much.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Vanessa?
The scary parts of Ursula is, her only motivating factor is power, and nothing means anything to her, so she is unstoppable. Not only that, unlike Scar or Gaston, she has the ability of magic on her side. And with all of these characters, there have been remakes, and the recastings have had some medium controversy, but none as big as Ursula, because that is a character that is iconic, and that is one where we truly, really care about somebody embodying that casting. And I didn't see that pop up with Scar or Gaston when it came to their remakes, recastings.
Okay, first of all, when you're talking about Disney animated movies, The Lion King is the highest grossing Disney animated movie of the 90s. And the reason for that is because the story, because it is biblical and Shakespearean, it transcends just being a movie for kids. Grown-ups embrace this movie too, and no matter how old or young you were, the violence in this movie for a Disney animated movie was shocking. That made it scary, and that's because Scar killed his own brother.
But which one?
Time. All right. Wow, what a throwdown. This is a real difficult choice. Dan Murrell, what's happening in the Fact Zone?
Ooh, the Fact Zone. Just a few things. Scar, according to the Lion Guard, which was a Lion King spin-off show after the movie, was born under the name Ascari and was bitten by a cobra on the face. That's where he got his signature scar. And that Mufasa actually gave him the name Scar, which stuck. That led that
kind of a jerk move, Mufasa.
Siblings, and later would resolve very tragically for that family.
Now I get it.
The concept of Disney villains and murder, while Scar did definitely kill his brother in cold blood. Shan Yu from Mulan also a confirmed body count. Hades, Jafar, the person at the beginning in the Cave of Wonders, also Syndrome just a few other Disney or Pixar villains with confirmed body count.
Right on.
Body counts.
And the last verse
Lions
that
and
we
Tarzan,
prepared
too.
was indeed taken over by Jim Cummings, who's done many, many voices. Winnie the Pooh,
was a fun
very
fact.
notable amongst them, had to take over for Jeremy Irons after he had some voice issues.
There you go.
you go.
Good one, Vanessa.
There you go.
Right on. Thank you, Dan. So great arguments all around. You all picked iconic villains, great characters. Eric, I thought we leaned a little too much into the wolf in sheep's clothing and why that can be an attribute to a villain. I don't know if that vaults your character ahead in the best villain category. I mean, a villain could just like be seeping in villainy and still be the best villain. So that didn't, it just made it different. It didn't particularly make it better, and we really leaned heavily into that. So for me, it actually came down to Vanessa and Scott, and this is so difficult. I'm kind of going back and forth in my head right now. Yeah, Vanessa, like, Ursula so great as just like, you know, she was like an inspiration to so many people just because like she is a character who is on the thick side, and that is something very cool to see in a Disney film. And there's so much rich just villainy embodied in her. But Scott, the darkness and how that character resonates in regards to other literature, you know what? That really started to sell me on the best animated villain. And yeah, I got to go with Scott with Scar at the end of the day. Dan.
With apologies to Eric, it was also between Vanessa and Scott for me with Ursula and Scar. And I actually ended up going the other way. And the thing that swayed me the most was I think everybody sold their villain being evil, very, very bad for others. But what Vanessa said that really stuck out to me was the idea of Ursula being... she could be the old crazy cat lady, or she could be the person that is going to ruin your life and you don't know who she is. I think it is actually... She kind of tread the line almost right in the middle, combining the best of Eric's argument about Gaston and the sort of false pretense and Scott's with evil. I think that Ursula combined both of those aspects and parts of those arguments, and so I'm going with Vanessa.
All right, we got 1-1. We're going to the polls. Danielle, where are we at?
All right. And right now we have, with 50% of the vote, Scar, 32% of the vote for Ursula, and Gaston with 17% of the vote. Other notables, it was just a Jafar versus Frollo fight.
Oh, Frollo! Frollo sucks!
Everyone was real on Team Frollo for that one.
Right on. Very good. Thank you, Danielle. So, Scott, you take the point. You go up 1-0, but great arguments all around right there.
Yeah, that was tough. I love Scar.
Oh, yeah.
And Gaston, my
That
God.
was a toughie. All right, we're going into question numero dos. Oh, so no one out there is going to have opinions on this one. What's the worst Star Wars film? The worst theatrically released Star Wars film? The holiday special does not count. The worst theatrically released Star Wars film. And it's question number 2. Going to start with player number 2, Vanessa.
Boom.
Okay. Man, what a fun one to pick from. I'm going with Revenge of the Sith because between all three of them, there are still redeemable nuggets that I can find in the prequel. I can find almost none of that in Revenge of the Sith. It's the least people acting like people. Not a single character operates like the way someone would speak, and all of the romantic scenes are very difficult to get through. With the first of the prequel, we have the ability to go in and like everyone's still excited about it, right down to a lot of like performances were more studied because they didn't expect the negative response that they were going to get. And with the second one, it is just a masterclass in not enough practical. So but even then, there are still redeemable moments to the second one as well, because we have that very lovely wedding scene. But I don't know. Revenge on the Sith on the third watch has the least people acting like people.
Gotcha. All right. Vanessa coming in with episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Scott, What do you got?
Oh, what do I got? How about The Phantom Menace? Star Wars Episode 1, 1999. Here's why that is absolutely by far the worst Star Wars theatrical movie. First of all, you're talking about the first new Star Wars movie in 16 years. You're talking about the first movie that George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, has directed since 1977. For people who grew up and became movie fans because of the original trilogy, like I did, saw all three of those original movies in the theaters, 77, 80, and 83. The prospect of a brand new Star Wars film was better than the Beatles getting back together, or what.
Well, that would have been impossible.
Left.
Impossible.
But the Threedles, Paul.
Now the
George Ringo,
Toodles.
now
The Toodles.
But so to go into that movie at a midnight screening, the night that it opened, and to see that movie unfold with the fake CGI, with a horrible performance.
All CGI is fake.
But it looked awful. It looked so bad compared to the models of the original trilogy. Jake Lloyd as Anakin Skywalker was terrible. The dialogue was terrible. To take the mysticism of the Force, the spirituality of the Force by Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, and make it about something biological, midi-chlorians, or whatever they're called, you are diffusing the magic of the original trilogy. And then just 3 words, Jar Jar Binks. The worst character, not just the worst character ever in a Star Wars movie, but one of the worst characters in movie history. That's all I got.
All right. Poor Jake Lloyd. All right. Around the horn to Eric.
The Empire Strikes Back sucks because... No,
Oh, you had me for a second. Well done. Well played.
No, let's go back to 2002 and Episode 2. The very silly title was also a very silly and bad movie called Attack of the Clones. Look, yes, there was already the disappointment of Phantom Menace, but man, did they double down with Episode 2. Just the main problem here is that the core of this movie, the central storyline, is this romance between Anakin and Padme, and man, does it not sell. More importantly, this is also going to be, it's clear even without seeing Revenge of the Sith, this is very important to why Anakin is going to turn to Darth Vader. So this is not only breaking this movie by not being able to invest in this romance, it's breaking the entire series, because now this incredible motivation for one of the most beloved villains ever has just been dumped on screen, and no one cares, no one's invested in it. Just all these romance scenes. You were saying bad romance scenes in Revenge of the Sith, but man, Attack of the Clones, it's just so many of them. And actors who normally are good in other films giving very bad performances. This really shows George Lucas's limitations with actors and the fact that he's not good at emotional content. And there's a lot in this movie that's supposed to be emotional. And also, you're talking about Episode 1. Yes, it's a big shift to suddenly have a lot of digital, but there was still a lot more physical sets in that film than in Episode 2. I think Episode 2 stands out as the worst looking Star Wars movie in the entire series.
Bingo. You said it.
All right, let's fight it out, everybody.
Okay, first of all, here's the thing. After The Phantom Menace, which was just to have your dreams and illusions and basically your whole childhood shattered and shit upon over and over for more than 2 hours. You can correct me on that running time, team Dan Cam. But to have that happen and to just walk out of that movie at 2 o'clock in the morning and feel so defeated and so depressed and just so sad and upset. There was nowhere for these prequels to go but up. And Attack of the Clones, not a great movie, but not as absolutely terrible as Phantom Menace, because you only have a quick shot of Jar Jar Binks, which alone makes that movie a little bit better. And you know what? Revenge of the Sith, the best of the 3 prequels, if nothing else, for the last 30 minutes of that movie, when the stakes are high between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and you see them building the Death Star, and you see Vader. I mean, Episode 3 ended on a very, very high note, and I walked out of that movie.
Are you saying it was on higher ground?
It was on higher ground than the first 2. Definitely.
It's an Episode 3.
The thing is that there's stuff in Episode 1, as much as there's stuff that I could tear apart too, Episode 1 still, there's some great beautiful moments. There's amazing lightsaber fight, probably the
Good
best in the
set
scene.
pieces.
Really good set pieces. And so there's these things that episode 2 is just lacking. Episode 2, it's just a murky, unpleasant movie to look at. And I also say it's funny because now we're arguing 4 things. Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, there's things in Revenge of the Sith that are absolutely thrilling to me. As much as some things are botched, there's things that, oh wow, this is really a chilling moment.
I agree.
Whereas like episode 2 doesn't have that. It's just it's this sort of drag. It's sort of you're looking, and even things I like Geonosis, some of the fighting, Geonosis looks like crap because it's like, wow, that's clearly a bunch of actors in front of digital. At least by Revenge of the Sith, they'd fixed some of that. Like things looked a little more incorporated into their background. So it's just episode 2 has almost nothing to grab onto.
Yeah, you'd think that, but, third time is supposed to be the charm. And it is also, I think, in my opinion, the worst McGregor performance we're getting because he's exhausted. We have the best performance out of him in the first film because that's when he was really studying Alec Guinness's, the way he speaks, the way he moves. It was peak excitement from him, so we get the best performance out of him in the first 2 movies. He is done, checked out, phoning it in by the third. And not only that, that's when we're supposed to see Vader's cynicism supposed to emerge itself. That's when we're really supposed to see him become Vader. We're supposed to be able to follow that, and we can't. There's nothing to latch onto.
Wrong.
And so much of the you're supposed to be having fun now is basically just them delivering weird, inhuman lines, but smiling at inappropriate times.
Okay, first of all, no matter how much you hate the prequels, and let's face it, the prequels are just not good movies. But the reason that Revenge of the Sith actually stands out as the best of the 3, I defy you to find any Star Wars fan who, by the time Vader became Vader, and you hear James Earl Jones talking as Vader, that it didn't perk them up. The movie ended on a higher note. And as far as lightsaber battles, there were so many lightsaber battles in those movies. And in my opinion, after the lightsaber battle between Luke and Vader in The Empire Strikes Back, that was the greatest lightsaber battle of them all because of the stakes, especially with the I am your father reveal. That everything after that, every other lightsaber battle, it felt like you've seen one lightsaber battle, you've seen them all. And here's the other thing, that both Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace are probably equally bad. But
Scott, let's make this your final thought.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll it right into it.
The earth-shattering disappointment that came from watching the Phantom Menace after having after having the original trilogy, it was just a soul-crushing moment that when Attack of the Clones came out and that was also bad, it was kind of expected. It was like, well, I guess that was just as bad. You weren't as crushed because you already were crushed with the Phantom Menace. And again, 3 words: Jar Jar Binks.
All right, let's go in the opposite direction. Vanessa.
I'm gonna say it. A Jar Jar isn't enough to kill an entire movie.
Yes,
It's not. If honestly, there are still kids of this generation not having any tie to why Jar Jar is a terrible character, still enjoying him on Star Tours because. Honestly, I'm not defending Jar Jar, but I'm going to say it's not enough to tank a movie. And if you go to Revenge of the Sith, there is an entire character missing from the story. Where is Natalie Portman other than in an apartment until the end of the movie? That's a character that's just gone, forgotten about. Someone that's been engaged in the adventures in the first 2 movies, just completely written off in the third one. Gone. A fundamental character is missing in the 3rd movie. That's not how you treat a character that you don't know how to write for.
All right, just chilling in her space apartment. Eric.
When you look at the other 2 prequels, their highs are just higher than Attack of the Clones. Whether it be Darth Maul being awesome, that lightsaber fight being a standout, or Revenge of the Sith, which has a killer performance from Ian McDiarmid, who's just kind of amazing, really taking center stage. There are things about it that really stand out. Plus, I'd say Ewan McGregor's. I believe that Ewan McGregor loved him like a brother when he yelled that to Anakin. But Episode 2, it's just this emotional pit at the center because so much of that movie is on the shoulders of a romance that is just not working, and the entire series by default, because it's like this is about the fall of Darth Vader, and this is the movie where they're going to really show what happened to go that way. My God, this guy says I just murdered women and children, and she's like, it happens. It's just all these beats just completely don't land at all, and it really just takes even after Phantom Menace, Episode 2 manages to take the momentum away in a really impressive manner.
All right, good stuff. Ding, ding. That is our second round. Who will take the title of worst? Let's go to Dan Murrell for the facts. And Dan, go ahead and give us your thoughts on the battle after that.
Sure, Scott, you were close. Midichlorians, the
Midichlorians.
biological organisms that constitute the Force. more or less. It's very complicated. George Lucas has a lot of answers for you if you have questions about midichlorians. Phantom Menace has a runtime of 2 hours and 16 minutes, so with trailers, people would be leaving the theater around 2:25, 2:30.
Oh, yeah.
Attack of the Clones actually has the longest runtime of any of the prequels at 2 hours and 22 minutes, 2 minutes longer than Revenge of the Sith. Let's see. Scott, I mean, it was brought up in the fight. It said, who did not perk up at James Earl Jones' voice at the end of Revenge of the Sith? I'm the person. I'm presenting myself.
Okay, hey, I get it. I understand.
So, there's also one film that I feel like a lot of people were probably yelling at their computers that wasn't brought up in this fight. I'm sure that they were the ones that were coming up in the chat.
Actually, no.
Really?
Not really.
I
no.
actually would have a sneak preview, because if it was worst Star Wars movie, not worst movie, I would have picked Last Jedi. But I'm not. Alas, I'm not on the panel. But that's the road not taken. My thoughts on the fight itself. I actually am gonna go with Eric. I think that Scott's argument about Phantom Menace was so subjective to him and kind of universalizing this crushing experience that I was thinking back on my experience. I was a little young. I was 16 when it came out, and I didn't have that experience, so that wasn't really speaking to me as an argument, because I didn't really share that viewpoint. That wasn't how I experienced Phantom Menace. So that kind of got me off board with that argument. So I think between Vanessa and Eric actually brought up the deficits in his film a little bit better, things that didn't quite work, the crux of the entire trilogy not being there. Ultimately, that won me over. So my vote goes to Eric and Attack of the Clones.
You know what? It looks like we'll send in the clones, because I am picking Eric as well. The emotion, just the murky, unpleasant to look at, and the highs are higher in the other films. I agree with all those points. Valiant efforts from both of you. You both hit some stuff that was really lacking, but Eric takes it from me. Eric, you get the point.
Thank you.
Danielle, Radford, what does the poll have to say?
Well, the poll agreed with 68% of it going to Attack of the Clones, 24% for The Phantom Menace, 7% for Revenge of the Sith, and I found a tweet that made me really smile.
Yes.
And it was Project Avant on Twitter, who says, anyone who doesn't pick Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones as worst Star Wars movie is a cop.
Wow.
What are you, a cop? You wearing
All right, hat's coming off.
You wearing a wire? You wearing a wire, bro? Right on.
I just dived through the fake
How many
window.
people? Just out of curiosity, how many people are saying Last Jedi?
There were a couple in the chat, but for the most part, there wasn't. It was more people kind of bouncing off of their arguments and talking about how much they didn't like. There's a lot of Jar Jar talk.
Yep.
And just a lot of people talking about like their arguments, but there'd be a couple of people who were like, come on guys, it's got to be The Last Jedi. And then everyone's like, nope, we're not doing this.
And to be clear, I'm not saying that out of those movies, The Last Jedi is a worse movie than those movies. I just want to make the argument that it is a worse Star Wars movie than the rest of those.
Gotcha.
Well, I gotta
Get him on a
say that-
technicality.
If we're gonna really just sort of go here, I was going back and forth between The Phantom Menace and actually the other movie that when it comes down to it, Dan's panel, son.
Yes, Dad.
We all know that the worst Star Wars movie of them all is Return of the Jedi. Man, those damn Ewoks.
What the what now? All right, now you're just now you're just talking. Okay.
Kirby is a great leader.
All right, we're gonna just start talking shit about baby Yoda. Come on, knock it off. Knock it off.
Joking.
All right. So Scott won, Eric won, Vanessa looking to get on the board.
I got this. I got this.
Let's go to question number 3. Here it is. Best Pixar sequel. Best Pixar sequel is the question. And it is question 3. Let's start with player number 3. Oh,
This
the
guy.
birthday boy, by the way, just found out.
The birthday boy.
Someone just told me in my non-existent earpiece that it is your birthday. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, what better way to spend a birthday than having a great time doing movie
I can
fights.
think of several better ways. But, Scott,
Well,
also, you being a birthday boy will not affect my judgment of this question or anyone's here.
okay, all right. No, that's
please,
fair enough. That's fair enough.
happy birthday, good
Thank
sir.
you, thank
Love you, brother. Go ahead.
Okay, so the best Pixar sequel, no question about it. The best Pixar sequel is, drum roll please, Toy Story 3, and here's
Story 3.
why. You have the first movie that came out in '95, launched the whole computer animated movie movement. You have the second movie came out in 1999, which built upon its predecessor. And the brilliance of the third movie is that it built upon the first two. Because when you see Andy walk in the room and you see that he's older, and you realize how much time has passed, how much you have grown up since watching the Toy Story movies. You feel the emotion when the toys are feeling obsolete, and when they're facing the fire before they're saved by the call, and when
spoilers,
when Andy goes off to college and Woody says something like "So long, partner." I mean, the emotion of that movie. It just really hits your heart. If you love the Toy Story movies, the emotional impact and payoff of Toy Story 3 is stronger than any other Pixar sequel, and it is a movie that was nominated not only for Best Animated Feature, which it won, but it was also nominated for Best Picture.
Whoa. All right. Scott Mantz, Toy Story 3. Around the horn to Eric.
So I'm naming as the best Pixar sequel a prequel. I just want to first off say I got approval on this.
Yes, this counts.
Follow-up to this.
Yeah,
counts.
we're talking about subsequent films after the first installment.
So
yes.
Monsters University, which I think is very underrated in general, but also when you look at Pixar follow-ups, because it truly is breaking new ground. Other of their sequels have basically been variations on what happened in the first film with different things added, but still kind of the same story. Monsters University completely changes the dynamic. Not just the setting, but the fact that these characters are in a very different place in their lives. They're not trying to do a boo substitute. Let's put them through the same paces. No, this is a very different journey for them. It's having a lot of fun. It's a very funny movie that gets to be a college comedy in Pixar, but at the same time, there are some great lessons in this movie. I actually think this has one of the best endings of any Pixar Disney animated movie, which is the fact that our two main characters get expelled at the end. Oh. That they do not get off the hook. They don't manage to save the day, and then everything's okay. There are consequences for your actions. And I think the Monsters University manages to really be a valuable lesson about, like, yeah, you can't always work out everything. That doesn't mean your life is over, but it means that sometimes you do have to pay the price for something bad you did. And it's got two great characters at the center of it going through this whole journey together.
All right, consequences for your actions, something I am reminded of on the daily. Vanessa, what do you got?
I have maybe a Pixar sequel that I've anticipated more than any Pixar sequel, and that is Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
Because out of all of these movies, it checks off more boxes than being a good being a good sequel and being a good Pixar sequel. It's also a fantastic superhero movie. It is a love letter to the genre, and Incredibles 2 did what any Fantastic Four film couldn't do: give Sue Storm a good story. Not only that, it has that amazing Michael Giacchino soundtrack. It has a gorgeous mid-century modern aesthetic that we haven't really seen done anywhere else other than Mad Men, and some of the best original superhero creation and villain creation designs that I've seen in a long time. Not only that, Pixar is known for its iconic VO roles, but every time Bob and Helen have a conversation between each other, they are absolutely 100% husband and wife, and you are invested in what they're talking about. You are invested in those kids. And if you took away the first Incredibles movie, Incredibles 2 still stands alone as a fantastic film.
All right, fight it out.
Okay, first of all, the Incredibles 2 lost Best Animated Feature to Into the Spider-Verse, and Monsters University wasn't even nominated for Best Animated Feature.
Like many great films.
Monsters University, well, sure, but Monsters University was just, I think it's one of the worst Pixar, not only sequels, but one of the worst Pixar movies, because it did not build upon its predecessor, even though it was a prequel. Monsters University was more slapsticky, more for kids. It didn't have the cleverness, it didn't have the sophisticated humor that defines most of the best Pixar movies. And Incredibles 2, very, very good film, a very, very worthy sequel to the first movie that came out in 2004. But Incredibles 2, it's a great superhero movie, and it's the Fantastic Four movie that we never got, just like the first Incredibles was. But it's if you love superhero movies, you'll love Incredibles. Everyone relates to Toy Story. Everyone has toys. Everyone has grown up and has moved on and left their toys behind. Everyone feels the emotional impact and relates to seeing their kid all grown up and move on. The passage of time is relentless, and that is clearly laid out in Toy Story 3.
You still have that Pixar fun in Incredibles 2, though. Like, every fight that Jack has with that raccoon is so quintessentially Pixar ridiculousness, and it still has that charm, while at the same time going above and beyond what you expected to with that great villain monologue as Elastigirl is moving through the rooftops. It elevates. It knows that it's for kids, but it doesn't dumb itself down. It manages to be 100% firing on all cylinders. And something about Incredibles 2 that I definitely want to point out in terms of like the standalone working thing is Toy Story 3 works because you moved through Woody and Buzz's life and you needed the first two movies to really like set it up and have that payoff. And Monsters, Inc. also relies on the relationships that you've already established between Mike and Sully, but everyone can relate to the family dynamic. Everybody can relate to where they fit in that family dynamic, whether they are the parents or whether they're the kids, or even the villains themselves. Out of all of them, it has the most relatable villains, which is somebody that feels really disenchanted by the powers that be failing them.
The thing is about both those movies, I like both these movies you guys are talking about, but they so use the template of the first movie. You know, it's like, yes, Elastigirl gets a good story, but by giving her a version of Mr. Incredible story from the first one, where now they've subverted their roles, but you're basically kind of repeating themselves. Toy Story 3, great movie, but taking a lot of things that Toy Story 2 did, both taking them out of the house on adventure together, learning about maybe eventually having to leave your owner, even if it's under different circumstances. A lot of these themes are variations of what we thought before, or what we saw before, I should say, whereas Monsters University is doing something completely different. And I think, you could go into Monsters University not having seen Monsters, Inc. It's a prequel that definitely functions on its own, but at the same time, of course, it is even better if you've seen Monsters, Inc., but it's also doing a different journey for these characters. It's not saying, okay, let's use a template. We know this works. It's saying, no, let's put it in something completely different, while also being very funny, very clever in that Pixar way. I mean, this is a movie, the crux of which at the very end, the final adventure, is a bunch of our beloved characters scaring the hell out of a bunch of camp kids.
Wait a minute. Okay, you both of you.
Go ahead and make your point and then roll into your final thoughts.
Okay, both of you brought up how your movies stand on their own. We're talking about sequels. So the argument of what stands on its own shouldn't apply. You're talking about a sequel, so it's okay to build on its predecessor or predecessors. And yes, Toy Story 3 did have elements of the first two films, and yes, it did break out, but there was a darkness to Toy Story 3 that was unexpected. The whole stuff with lots of Hug and Bear and Big Baby, that was scary stuff. When the toys are facing their mortality, before they almost get burned to death, the fact that this is a sequel, a third film, you are so vested to the characters that the thought of their death is horrifying. And thank God that didn't happen. But again, you're talking about a film that everyone can relate to. This is not pigeonhole for superhero movies, and I'm sorry, Monsters University, a little too much slapstick, not enough depth, not enough cleverness, not enough for grown-ups. It's more just for kids.
Thank you, Scott. Around the horn to Eric.
I feel like the thing is you're underestimating Monsters University because, there's slapstick, there's humor, but there's a lot of great depth there if you look at it, especially the fact that, yes, it's a prequel, so people think, well, we know where these characters are going. They're going to work in Monsters, Inc., so they obviously must have a successful college career, and that's the thing about what the journey they're on in this movie, which is basically not only, getting expelled from college, but the lesson at the end, which is that there are other paths you can take in life. I think there's a very a lot of depth here, what they're telling you about the fact that, maybe you can start in the mailroom. Maybe there is another thing to do. Everything's not going to be easy. Everything can't be forgiven. And the thing is, yes, sequels should build on their predecessors, but they also shouldn't copy. They shouldn't be so beholden to the exact sort of arcs or the exact sort of past before.
Disagree.
And Monsters University, I think, says, let's really mix up what happens with these characters. Let's
it's a prequel.
Very different dynamic.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Different dynamic. Vanessa.
While the movie completely stands alone on its own, it does pick up exactly from where the first one left off, answering questions, which is what we want out of a sequel. We want questions answered. We want to go on new adventures with the characters that we've already fallen in love with. And they are new characters. You can say it's flipping the roles and Helen's just kind of going through what Bob was going through, but is it? Because this is an entirely new world for Helen. Helen now has the entirety of whether or not superheroes get to exist riding on her shoulders. And Bob, that was a solitary mission. So it is a different story. And you have that charm and that slapstick that you have with Dash and Jack, while also going really deep with that Evelyn Endeavor character played by Catherine Keener, who we've seen as an incredible villain before, and now she gets to be an incredible villain for kids.
Boom, there it is. That is the end of round 3. Let's visit Dan Murrell in a place known as the Fact Zone.
The Fact Zone awards talk. Scott's right. Yes, Toy Story 3 won Best Animated Feature. It also won Best Original Song. Had nominations for Best Picture, Best Sound Editing, Best Adapted Screenplay. Incredibles 2 lost to Into the Spider-Verse, which came on super strong late in the race, and took the Best Animated Feature Oscar. And Monsters University not nominated. Frozen won Best Animated Feature that year. Other films nominated were The Croods, Despicable Me 2, Ernest and Celestine, and The Wind Rises.
Knocked out by the
Wow, those are great
Croods.
facts, man.
Spider-Verse will not get anything.
Dan, thank you for all those facts. So I thought you all made compelling arguments. This was a difficult choice here. It didn't make it easy because you're all smart and you said smart things. But at the end of the day, the one person who I heard the most specificity about in regards to their movie, this isn't my choice of these 3, but this was the best argument to me. I thought Vanessa just dog-eared all these moments, characters, and themes within her movie that made her argument stand out above the rest. So I got to go Vanessa with Incredibles 2, specifically, like really giving props to Helen in that movie. Like it was,
so good.
It was her movie, and just that I really appreciated where you were coming from on that. Dan, where are you at?
I related to Scott's comments about, if you're responding to the idea that it relies on others, we are talking about a sequel. So yes, it is okay to a certain extent for it to rely on the other films. So I didn't give quite as much weight to the argument that you have to, build on everything, or that's a detriment. However, again, kind of like the first round, I think that Vanessa sort of navigated between the two arguments of her competitors and crafted a sequel or a good argument of why Incredibles 2 is good, both as a standalone film that doesn't require the film before it, but also as a sequel that is a follow-up, the unique, what it offers to the canon that's unique. I thought Scott leaned, while it is true that you can build on, I thought Scott leaned a little too heavily on the if you love Toy Story, it's a big payoff thing, whereas Vanessa underscored additionally the stuff that was unique about her film. And I loved Eric's passion for Monsters University. I think it was just Vanessa took it from me. So my point goes to Vanessa.
Vanessa, you got the point. Danielle, 2 questions. What does the poll say? And then how many people said Planes 2?
Oh God, that happened.
No, was there a Planes 2?
That's not
a video.
Pixar proper.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, so on the polls we had with 56% Toy Story 3, Incredibles 2 at 26%, and then Monsters University at 17%. A lot of people just sharing all of their various Toy Story 2 feels. Just all of their Toy Story, I wish I was an adult, or I wish I wasn't an adult anymore. I'm going to say this because I think it's funny, and I'm not encouraging you guys to do it anymore. I'm going to do this one time because I thought it was hilarious and it's never happening again.
All right.
Schmo2 in the chat wrote, Cars 2.
Awesome.
I will never do that again, but I thought that was really fun.
Thank you for favoring us with that delightfulness.
Thank you.
All right, so we are all locked up at 1-1-1. That is a great moment in sports, a 3-way tie. All right, let's go to question number 4. Here it is. That's a turkey. Grab your stuffing and eat a muffin. It's Thanksgiving next week. So we are asking, in honor of Thanksgiving, which Pixar character would you invite over for Thanksgiving dinner? It is American Thanksgiving. To our international audience, please feel free to participate in this question as well. What Pixar character would you invite over to Thanksgiving? Question number 4, we'll go back around the horn to player number 1. Eric, please start us off.
Thanksgiving, it's a wonderful time of family, of great food, but it's also can be very stressful. And so I think, you want to help alleviate the stress there, and that is where Woody comes in. Because you've got this friendly, helpful presence coming in. Woody is great because he wants to make sure that you're running a tight ship. He's going to be there to help you at Thanksgiving. He's going to clean up after himself. He's going to make sure others clean up after themselves. If there's clutter that you want there as the homeowner, he'll make sure the clutter is restored as it was when you left it. You know, that's the thing. You don't want disruption. And Woody is going to be the opposite of that. He's just going to make everything better, pleasant, a friendly presence that will be warming everyone's heart.
There's a snake in my boot.
And he says that.
All right. Hey, that's a thing he says. Vanessa, who do you like?
What I want at Thanksgiving is someone that'll not only help out, but also make sure that every single one of my dishes are better than everyone else's so they can really know who's king. And the person that's going to help me do that is Remy the Rat. Because Remy is a trained French chef.
Yes.
He's going to have the best turkey, the best taters with the right potato to butter ratio. He's going to sit on my head and pilot me the entire time, and we are going to crush it from multiple courses. We're going to kill it. And Remy has already shown himself to be a very clean, neat, and tidy rodent. It will not be my first dance with like a cute little fuzzy thing hanging around during Thanksgiving, because I have owned guinea pigs before, so that's not like weird to anyone I know. And not only that, he takes up the least amount of space and eats the least amount of food, so triumph Thanksgiving with Remy on your head.
All right, Remy from Ratatouille. Thank you, Vanessa. Scott, who do you got?
If you're talking about something who was eager to please, and something who was really, I mean, talk about Woody helping to clean up. I got news for you. Wally will do a much better job of cleaning up, because not only will he clean up, he'll get rid of the trash, because that's his job. That's his purpose. Wally is also quite adorable, and everybody loves Wally. And then not only do you have him cleaning up, but then what do you want to do after you're done with Thanksgiving dinner? You want to watch a movie. And Wally loves movies. Wally loved classic movies. So that's a great Thanksgiving dinner for me.
Oh, I mean, what? Just all three great Thanksgivings. Fight it out.
Okay, fighting out. First of all, you're talking about a rat. I don't care how clean this rat is. I'm not eating anything. I'm not eating anything made by a rat.
Wally hangs out with a cockroach.
Hang on a second. You're also talking about a French rat, a French chef. What the hell does a French chef know about American Thanksgiving? And second of all, I mean, what the hell is
Shots fired at the French.
Like there and Woody. I got news for you. Sometimes Woody could be very annoying. Woody could be annoying, like the character who just tries too hard to be so eager to please that he gets on your nerves. So Wally, doesn't say too much. In fact, he doesn't say anything other than his name. Wally. He's just there enough to serve his purpose and not get in the way. And again, nothing like having someone else do all the cleaning up. And I mean all of it, and then you go back and you watch a movie with him.
How can Wally not get in the way when he's this big boxy thing? I mean, just on a practical level, though.
He's small.
He can't make the turns in a small house.
Yes, he can.
How big is your house?
I have a little Wally.
He's a trash compactor on wheels.
Those
That's what
toys
I'm
are not
talking
to
about.
scale. But also, you stole my line about him being a French chef, damn it, with Remy. But I will say, who knows an American holiday better than a cowboy, than a red-blooded toy named Woody? He understands our
was made in
customs.
China.
He grew up in a suburban home.
There you go.
But he's been in a suburban home now for decades. He's been amongst, Wally, all he knows is what he's seen through media. Remy's over in France. Woody has been amongst the people celebrating Thanksgiving every year.
All right, so Remy may be a trained French chef, but also he hangs out with an American chef. So he has best of both worlds, not unlike multiple chefs trained here. And the French method is basically just the old school American method, which just means hella butter. Also, Wally is a trash compactor that hangs out with a roach. That's not much better than a rat that washes his hands. And yeah, he's gonna clean up. He's gonna put my best dishes, my best china, into a solid trash cube and then spit it out and be like, ta-da, and be a not conversationalist.
Yep. Yeah,
and
exactly.
sure, Woody is a conversationalist, but he's also a toy. And anybody that has a lot of little cousins knows Woody is going into someone's mouth. Not only that, he's getting lipstick drawn on him, he's getting his hair cut. Woody will be useless the second that he touches a child's hands. So I have someone that's either gonna wreck everything, or someone that's gonna disappear, or a trained French chef that knows how to speak English because he also worked works with an American chef that's going to really pump up Thanksgiving and be a friend in the kitchen. Because honestly, I don't need anybody else other than me. He's going to take a
This is good stuff. Let's go ahead to our final thoughts.
There's no way.
Eric,
There's no way.
Scott, thank you. Just a moment. We're going to our final thoughts with Eric Goldman.
You have to get past the rodent thing, and for some people that's a non-starter. I'm sorry, some of your guests just won't accept it. And then Wally, he can't join in the conversation, and he only knows things through movies. He's not going to really be helpful in the way you need him. And as you said, he would destroy everything, even whether you wanted to or not. Woody, he can help out. He can clean. He can contribute. He's been there the whole time in an American family, seeing how Thanksgiving is celebrated. He wants what's best for you. That's the thing, is he wants what's best for the homeowner. So he will work, and he understands everything about what's happening to completely invest himself and make your Thanksgiving so much more pleasant and enjoyable.
Thank you. Vanessa, what do you got?
Yeah, it's a rat cooking food, but he's not actually touching any of it. He's clean and he's sitting on my head. And anybody here that enjoys street food, like me, we love street food. But also, most of us have eaten a hot dog coming out of a cooler with a guy who's not wearing gloves and definitely had his finger in his ear, and we're fine with it. Wally, he's gonna wreck my stuff. He's gonna put my good cast iron in the trash, and that has years and years and years of seasoning on it. Woody can't lift anything. He has no bones. At least Remy can contribute while also being an amazing trained chef, and I have to do literally none of the work.
Whether you're talking about a rat that is going to be touching food because he's going to be making it, or some person you buy a hot dog from, I'd still choose the hot dog over the guy who put his finger in his ear than some friggin' rat who made my food. Second of all, you're all saying like, Wally would destroy everything. What are you talking about? His job is to tidy things up, to make things neat. Did you see how organized Wally was in the area that he was living? And he was friends. He was a sweet, like innocent that just wanted to help. You're talking about someone who not only would clean up, but dispose of the trash, and that's what you do. You don't want to go out, walk the garbage to the end of this. You just want to sit down after you've had Thanksgiving dinner and chill out and veg out and watch a movie, and Wally will take care of that too.
Wally, all right, time. There it is. Wow, great stuff, you guys. Let's go to Dan with the Fact Zone, and Dan, go ahead and roll it into your choice for this round.
I mean, these are the kind of days that I have here in the Fact Zone. Is I've spent the last 3 minutes sitting here trying to figure out where was Woody manufactured.
I'm so sorry.
I can't find definitive proof that he was manufactured in China. I really cannot. We know where Buzz was manufactured, but not.
Where was Buzz manufactured?
I believe it was Taiwan. Hang on. See, now you throw me.
Only because you brought it up.
Woody's from the 50s. I think he's American made.
Yeah, Woody's vintage. I'm thinking Woody is a good old American plastic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No worries.
Buzz Lightyear, it's out there, but I don't have time to look at that right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, Wally he picks up the trash, he compacts it, and he dumps the cube behind him. So where he would dump that cube, I don't know. You might need a little guidance as far as that. The classic movie that Wally likes, by the way, that he watches in the film Hello, Dolly. Oh. It's the film that he enjoys on his little Jawa ship there in the future. The French do not celebrate Thanksgiving, as you can imagine, from what I've been reading. The cultural knowledge
Thanksgiving.
of what Thanksgiving is probably not on the tip of everyone's tongue in France. I did find out that the turkey sound in French is glou glou. Glou glou. Instead of gobble gobble. It's glou 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 glou. GLOU. And however, Vanessa brought up the French method of cooking. While I'm sure some of them may take umbrage that it would be similar to the American method of cooking, I did find data that says that the French eat 4 times as much butter and 60% more cheese than Americans. Yeah, so hella butter, I think, would be accurate to French food. They enjoy the butter and the cheese, but they, I guess, the weight is not so much. They must have a secret. I don't know if it's the smoking or what. The nihilism, something keeps horizontal.
Laughing so much from all the Jerry Lewis films that they watch.
Yeah. Or perhaps just the concept of knowing what a balanced diet is. The world will never know.
Yes.
My thoughts on the round. Oh, wow. I mean, everyone made such good arguments for and against. Like, I think you almost have to take everyone's argument and go for personal preference, which is I'm not convinced First of all, I don't want to. When I bring my guests over, I don't want to put them to work. So Remy, for me, is like I don't want to invite Remy to my house and be like, oh, by the way, you're cooking the food. I feel like that's not as much fun. And then Wally too. Clean up. Like my guest doesn't clean up for me. Leave it there. I clean it up. That's why I'm hosting. And while Eric did describe Woody doing work, Woody is doing this of his own volition. You're not putting Woody to work, but he's keeping. As a host, I appreciate somebody who's going to help me keep this train moving and rolling around on time. And so I'm going with Woody only because Eric made a very compelling thing of like, he's a good guest. He's going to help this meal go off without a hitch. And as a host, I appreciate that.
All right, Dan choosing Woody, even though he doesn't have bones.
That was a good line.
That was a good line. Woody does not have bones. He cannot do the heavy lifting.
You know what? I'm going a little bit of a different way. I think Woody might be a good guest, but I want this is the big meal of the year. And at this meal, I have one goal every Thanksgiving: to eat until I'm not well. And the person who would contribute most to that is Remy person. The talking rat who would contribute most to that is Remy. I feel like in my personal Thanksgiving, I just want to eat delicious shit until I feel sick.
I want to eat turkey and think about my childhood.
Yes. Oh, and I've had sides that were not great, that were a little bit, could use a little more of this, could use a little, like, you're not going to have that problem. Remy is going to make it just delish, rich, and a decadent meal. Wally, he's delightful. Woody, there's a snake in my boot. I'm going Remy. So it's one for Vanessa, one for Eric. What do we got? What do we got, Danielle?
With 71% of the vote, it is Remy. Wally gets 15% and Woody with 13%. A lot of people coming through and saying that they want Merida, from Brave. Some people claiming that she does have bones. So she does have bones. And Vanessa, everyone wants you to take off your hat so you can prove that you don't have a little rat in there who's giving you all of your answers.
All I have is hat hair.
Right on.
What if she had a rat? No, that'd be amazing.
So,
It just moves away.
thank you, Danielle. So after
Everyone
4
really does.
questions, it's Vanessa 2, Eric and Scott 1 apiece, and oh my goodness, it's a blind fight!
What does that mean? Blind fight.
Yes, it's a blind fight. So,
okay.
Took me a second too to be like,
this is now it's time to get crazy. It gets spooky right here in a blind fight. Taking out the hats. So the question is, we're asking you to pick a Disney animated film and a director out of the hat and argue why that director's live action remake would be the best. All right?
Holy
Let's
cow.
go to Disney movies. Let's start with the birthday boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Disney movies. Okay.
1, yes.
All right. Can I look?
Yes, you can look. Don't speak yet. Don't speak yet. All right. And Vanessa, director.
oh God, I really need a good one for this one.
I don't remember.
Eric.
Excited and scared.
Okay.
Scott.
Can I pick another movie? Yeah.
No, absolutely not. You get what you get in a blind fight. That's why it's so crazy. All right. So, let's go. Just go around the table, reveal what you have, and then we will come back around and hear your statements. Eric, you have.
The 10th film from Quentin Tarantino will be Tarzan.
Oh, QT's Tarzan. All right. Vanessa, what do you have?
I have Sofia Coppola doing The Princess and the Frog.
Sofia Coppola, Princess and the Frog live action. And Scott.
I have Brother Bear, directed by David Fincher.
Wow.
I do want to see that.
David Fincher's Brother Bear. Okay, I want you to think about casting. I want you to think about plot. And then, let's jump into the fun. This is question number 5. So actually, we'll start with Vanessa.
Okay. So I have The Princess and the Frog, a movie that I already love, but honestly, one of my main criticisms was we didn't get to hang out in New Orleans enough, which is already a very beautiful film. I mean, very beautiful set piece. Sofia Coppola knows how to make the most of a beautiful set piece. Look at Marie Antoinette. Look at Virgin Suicides. In fact, if you actually look towards the end of Virgin Suicides, when the town itself starts to build humidity and it becomes a swamp, she's shown that just using gels and general setting and tone, she can make something feel like a swamp without having the set piece exactly look like it. Giving her an actual swamp, which she has proven to make look interesting and compelling, she could do in this. She's really great at like figuring out the inner conflicts of a female lead and having it come through. I think a great female lead for this one would either be sticking with Anika Noni Rose, or if we want to maybe skew a little bit younger, we can even go with we can even go with like Janelle Monáe, because we know she can sing, so she could do Almost There, and it's reprised really, really beautifully. For a Dr. Facilier, I would maybe even go with like a Lakeith Stanfield. That would be very fun. She would not only be able to really make those set pieces shine, but we would get more human performances out of those characters, because Tiana spent largely most of the movie as a frog, so we would actually be able to see Tiana be Tiana. Yes. And a lot of criticisms of Sofia Coppola tend to be that she's too feminine, which is a ridiculous criticism.
That is ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous criticism, and this is a Disney princess movie, and she's shown that she can bring dark angles to really soft things. So I think Sophia would be great on this.
Good stuff. We'll hear more from you in a minute. Scott, what do you got?
Okay, so we got Brother Bear, directed by David Fincher. I'm just going to go really off the rails on this. If you're going to have David Fincher directing your movie, why not have him do a Disney animated version of Fight Club? And that's what this movie is. Okay, full disclosure.
The question is live action remake. So are you pulling the ripcord on this question?
No, actually, I'm gonna go live action. I got confused.
Okay.
I got confused with the question. Okay, live action remake of
Brother Bear.
Brother Bear, and it's basically Fight Club with bears.
Great.
So,
all right. Now you're talking.
So what better way to really take advantage of a live action version of Fight Club and marry it with sort of a Disney sensibility than to have animals beating the shit out of each other and animals causing anarchy? And what better director to completely reinvent sort of a Disney brand than to make it just so violent, to take a movie that was basically for kids and make it just for grown-ups. I know I'm just like going off the rails here, but that's all I got.
You know what? Feel free to go off the rails. This is always a safe place to go off the rails. Thank you, Scott. I'll hear more from you. Eric.
What director can take any movie and give it a spin, give it his own take? You take Tarantino, you take Tarzan, this classic story. He's going to give you a Tarzan you have never seen before. When you look to cast, I mean, he does have certainly his players. I say Brad Pitt. Yes, he's older than you expect, but did you see his body in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? He's still rocking it. So he's going to play our Tarzan, and then Jane, she's going to come in. It's going to be Zoe Bell. So Zoe Bell's going to come in as Jane, because, you know, this Jane, she can definitely throw down. She can definitely fight. Now, of course, you think about Tarantino's language. It gets a little salty, doesn't seem very Tarzan-y. Well, that's where Jane's going to come in. I mean, she's going to come in. She's, you know, she's a streetwise character. She comes from the city, and, you know, she's going to introduce a lot of new things to Tarzan, including some, you know, language he might not have heard before. I have no idea what Rosie O'Donnell's character was, that gorilla, but I'm going to say that Tarantino brings back Rosie O'Donnell, because Tarantino likes to take actors from the past and reinvent them. So this is going to be Rosie O'Donnell, but Rosie you've never seen before. She's going to really surprise people. He's going to take her to an edgy new place. And it's going to, of course, have an amazing soundtrack. We know it's going to have a great... I'm sorry, Phil Collins. Your songs will not be included this time. We're going to go with some hits of the 70s, because Jane's going to introduce Tarzan to her favorite music. And then they're going to return to the city where, you know, you're going to have maybe some crime get involved, and Tarzan's going to have to learn a few things there.
All right. Phil Collins will not be in your heart or your movie. Fight it out. Any other points you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, Tarantino has amazing music selection, but as does Sofia Coppola. I mean, look at the music that was selected for Virgin Suicides. It's the best of the 70s. If you go and listen to the Virgin Suicide soundtrack, most of that is what made it onto Guardians of the Galaxy's mix. Like, it's expertly curated. Same thing with Marie Antoinette. It's so much color, it's so much life, and not just that, the girl is a Coppola. Think about what her father did on Dracula. This could be her Dracula with its, like, practical set pieces and everything happening on location. She has New Orleans to work with. She has a swamp to work with, which she's shown that she could do before. And like getting her hands on a villain like Facilier and getting the ability to direct a character like Tiana, who's just so tenacious, and her thing isn't really for love. It's for something that's what she wants on her own, which she has directed with the leads in, again, Marie Antoinette and once again Virgin Suicides. it's something that she's proven capable of being able to handle. It's just an amalgamation of all of her expertise.
Scott, what's the first rule of Bear Club?
Don't talk about Bear Club. But and the second rule is don't talk about Bear Club. See, now, you're talking about like music. Who wants to see enough with the music here? Okay, if we're gonna go big or go home. So fuck the music. Just do something that's really far out and really just shake up the Disney brand and just you think of Disney, you think of cute animals. Everyone loves the animals in Disney movies. So what better way to just really shake it up than have movies beating the crap out of each other and making a social situation, making a social commentary in the process, and causing anarchy, doing away with materialism to just shake up the government and shake everything up, and that's what David Fincher's Brother Bear is.
Eric, give me a little bit more Tarzan.
The thing about it, when you look at Tarantino's recent films, he's really gone to these different environments. If you look at *Inglourious Basterds* and *Hateful Eight* and *Django*, he's taking people as not, we have a picture in our mind of what a Tarantino movie is, with these sort of tough guys sitting around, but he's showing that he does very different things with that. So that's the thing about Tarzan, is like he could take this jungle setting, this setting that we might not think of for a Tarantino film, but he's already shown he can take his style and move it into these other literal geographic places, but also kinds of movies, and give it his spin. So I think that's what you're going to get here. It's like, I think about some of the things even in *Inglourious Basterds*, as much as it's a World War II film, it's also these guys going through the jungle, they're having some interesting fights, skirmishes. You can take that to Tarzan, but then of course you can go to the next level because it is Tarantino, and you also go to Kill Bill and you think about what he did with action, and I think he could really go there again with this. When he wants to go all out with action, he does.
Time, we've heard enough. Good stuff. All right, Dan, let's go to the fact zone.
Yeah, Virgin Suicide's soundtrack, the only song to make the both official soundtrack albums was "I'm Not in Love," but the same aesthetic for the music on both, so they do share a little bit of common lineage between the two. I next to Scott's, I just wrote down Scott, Brother Bear by David Fincher, live action Fight Club with bears, and then in quote, Fight Club with bears again. Doesn't really bear a whole lot of resemblance to the plot of the original. Some people want a change in their plot. So.
I have a question. I don't think, Scott, you've never seen Brother Bear, have you?
Yeah. Full disclosure, I was a little discouraged.
Quite all right.
Joaquin Phoenix plays a young Native American who doesn't like bears, and then his brother is killed by a bear, and so he kills a bear, but then is turned into one himself.
Oh. And then he dances down some steps.
Yes, and then he dances down some steps. So then Joaquin Phoenix is a bear, but then his other brother wants to kill Joaquin Phoenix's bear. But that would be bad because.
Long story short, check it out on Disney Plus.
So he has to go to a magical mountain, and he has to go to a human, and he befriends actual bears, and lessons are learned, and etc.
Was it obvious?
Because you asked for a different movie, and then your description, it all came together. Also, you said, who cares about music? Oh man, the Pixies' "Where Is My Mind" is so beautifully placed in Fight Club. I thought Vanessa blew this one out of the water. Eric, I could have used a little bit more Quentin Tarantino-isms. I mean, Scott dropped the F-bomb. You should have been dropping the F-bombs. Don't drop F-bombs. We'll lose our monetization. I thought just Vanessa was head and shoulders above you guys. So I go with Vanessa. Dan.
I'm inclined to agree. I think that just not quite on board with the bear fight movie. And
it's like Fruit Vengeance meets The Revenant.
There you go. There were a lot of Tarantino elements to Eric's pitch, but I think Vanessa really keyed into here's how Sofia Coppola can take this story, the aesthetic of it, everything, and really turn it on its, make it something special. And so I'm also with Vanessa. So.
All right. So it is Vanessa 3, Eric and Scott 1-1. That means we're going to a tiebreaker. Woo! Here it is. It worked. Oh, I'm sorry. The poll. I got so excited about tiebreakers. Danielle,
we
please.
always say if you want to get Hal something for Christmas, you got to get him a tiebreaker.
Yes.
All right. So with 40% of the vote, it was actually Eric, and then 33% for Vanessa and 25% for Scott.
Really? I got that much?
Nice.
I mean, people like bears and they like fighting.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Boom. I don't have a bell. Does anyone have a bell?
Oh,
I just realized I have no bell.
Oh,
There's a bell right under you.
all right,
Have a
bell
bell.
flying in. Okay, so this is our tie-break question, and it works like the speed round. Vanessa, you can sit this one out, just catch your breath. Think about what you're going to do later tonight. And so I'll ask the question, shout out your answer, then you get 20 seconds to elaborate on your answer in the order that you answered, and then 10-second rebuttals.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dan. What currently running TV series should add the Muppets to the cast?
Glow.
We have Glow. Scott. 5, 4.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grays. All right. No one gave the correct answer, which is The Watchmen. All right. So Eric answered first with Glow. 20 seconds begin when you speak.
Okay, Glow is a super fun show. We got 80s, you got wrestling, and what is better of 80s and fun than the Muppets? Miss Piggy belongs in that wrestling ring. Miss Piggy belongs going up against Allison Brie on that show. She can bring Janice along. You know, the trip to Vegas, that is made for Piggy. We can get a great road trip. You know, the other Muppets can come along. They show up. She's really annoyed with them. Kermit and her have to work out their issues.
Time.
Okay, what could be better than having Kermit the Frog in charge of a hospital, and you have Miss Piggy is the intern who has a crush on the doctor, and then you got Monster in the operating room. I mean, there is a whole lot of potential for a whole lot of just craziness going on at this hospital with a lot of Muppets doing their thing, and you've got the band. They could do the house. They could do the music for the score.
You know, we've seen too many like parodies of like a soap opera thing. You take Glow and we get Miss Piggy. She's so physical anyway. Great stunts she does. Great Muppet caper. This allows her to really show off that and go comedy, physical, and slapstick that the Muppets are so good at.
Okay, but you want to do something a little different here, and you would never imagine the Muppets doing a hospital TV show, which is why it'll be so fundamentally, colossally different, but still be fun, just like the Muppets.
All right. Woo, good stuff, you guys. Let's start with Danielle Radford. Danielle Radford, who do you like out of these two?
You've keyed onto my trick of if I just don't look you in the eyes, maybe you won't pick me first. That worked for like a year, Hal. I want to see, obviously, both of these shows. I think that they're great. Both of them, honestly, like really, both of them hinge on, wouldn't it be fun to see the Muppets do this? And you're both right for different reasons, but I will say that for me, Eric got more specific when he mentioned Miss Piggy is really physical. Miss Piggy does know martial arts. Miss Piggy does do stunts. And so seeing something like that and having that element that's already a part of her character brought into Glow, I think would be a great match.
That's one for Eric, and I'm gonna. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have to disagree. I think that Eric's pitch was way too Piggy-centric. It wasn't what show should Miss Piggy be added to. It was what show should the Muppets join. And
She's the Beyonce of the Muppets.
Scott's pitch, you had Kermit, you had Monster. I heard what the band was going to do. I heard Miss Piggy was in there too. So I feel like I'm going with Scott because I heard too much Miss Piggy. All I heard was Piggy, Piggy, Piggy. What's Sam Eagle doing? I don't know. I feel like I'm
He's
repping
Scott.
That's a great point. I'm going to miss piggyback what Danielle was saying, and I thought it just fit in with the world of Glow a little bit. It clicked a little bit more, and just by a little bit of felt, I'm going with Eric. I'm sorry, my father.
I'm good. I'm good, my son.
You are good.
Sesame
All
Street
right.
was on Scrubs, though.
See? Oh, now
And
you
it
talk.
worked.
They were.
Okay, it is time for the speed round. The speed round works in the same way. I will ask the question, shout out your answer. The first player to... Actually, we'll just go with who gets the most because there's a chance that someone could win, but they wouldn't get 6.
I'm keeping track.
Okay.
I'm keeping track, Al. I will let you know when we're at game point.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. So again, I'll ask the question, shout out your answer, and but there is a chance that we could have a winner without 6 points.
There is.
Yes. Thank you, Dan.
It's like Quidditch.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? Do the rules change as you go wrong?
If Eric catches the snitch, then he scores 4 points.
Yes.
And Spencer Gilbert goes crazy.
All right. Let's go Ravenclaw. So, again, 20 seconds in the order you answered, and then 10-second rebuttals. All right. Shout out your answer for question number 1. Other than Yoda, which Star Wars character would make the cutest baby?
Rancor Keeper.
Rancor Keeper.
Jabba.
Okay, we heard Rancor Keeper first, Jabba second. 20 seconds begin when you speak.
Okay, Rancor Keeper means you also have a baby Rancor. It's going to be this great adventure together. It's like Calvin and Hobbes, but with Star Wars characters. They're going to go out. They're going to be rambunctious. They're going to have fun. We're going to see what Jabba's like. Has like, you know, oh, little Rancor Keeper, little Rancor, you are annoying me. Get out of there. It writes itself really because all the adorableness plus Jabba's palace, it gives you all these characters for them to bounce off of.
Jabba already talks like a baby. How much more like a baby is he gonna talk as a baby? That's adorable. He's gonna be basically all eyes and mostly texture, which is already a fascinating texture. Is he like jelly? Is he smooth? I can't tell, but I feel like it's softer as a little itty bitty baby in a bundle. Imagine that wrapped in a blanket. So cute with that big old mouth. I just want to throw food into it.
10-second rebuttal.
You know, like the thing is, Rancor Keeper, there's just so much more to do there because Jabba, yeah, he's already a baby, okay, but Rancor Keeper is adorable. He looks like a big baby already. Now you just shrink him down and you get a natural thing to go off of and bounce off of, and you get Jabba as an adult.
I can't imagine that arms happened early in life. I feel like that's a later life development. So it's an armless little itty bitty bundle that I feel like looks like the baby from Dinosaurs. And that is already the mountaintop of cute.
All right. Ooh, so much cute overload. But yeah, I got to go with Eric and the Rancor Keeper. He gave us that Calvin and Hobbes framework, which is kind of delightful. So that's one for
So
Eric.
cute.
Danielle.
So cute.
Just let me not look at you.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give us a thought eventually.
I know.
Yes.
These were, they were both really great pitches. I also want to see little tiny squishy slug Jabba, but I will say, and maybe this isn't fair because it's not quite what the question asked, but I did like that there was some idea of not only what the baby Rancor Keeper would look like, but how the show would work. So.
All right. So Eric gets that point.
How could you not say Wicket?
It is 3-2.
Wicket would have been adorable as a baby. Little fuzz
That
ball.
Ewok baby was pretty cute.
What about that adorable little human emperor? Okay. Question number 2. Just in a little cloak. All right. Question number 2. Going back to some Disney. Which live-action Disney remake series should get a 3rd movie? Maleficent or Alice in Wonderland?
Maleficent.
Alice in Wonderland.
Okay. Maleficent.
Good luck, guys.
Okay, Angelina Jolie versus Mia Wachowski. All right. So we had Vanessa first with Maleficent. 20 seconds begin when you speak.
Maleficent is a completely different take on a character that we already know, and it's expertly played by Angelina Jolie. Can you tell me anything about what happened and if it mattered in the first or second Alice in Wonderland? Other than, I guess Johnny Depp is goofy and he's wearing a weird hat. We don't even really remember anything that happens with Alice, and that's a titular character. We should care about Alice. We don't care about Alice. Yet in Maleficent, not only do we have the characters that we still care about, and...
The Alice in Wonderland threequel, as it is, they can reinvent. That's the thing. They can scale down. There were big battles in those first 2 films. There's a lot of Johnny Depp being Johnny Depp. You take that all away. You get back to a small story about Alice and some quirky adventures she goes on that doesn't have to try to be epic. That's the thing. You can go back to the core of Alice here, and I think people really enjoy that because it's like they got a little overdone with the 3D and all that. No, let's just go into this strange world.
Maleficent and the series that it gave us is the only time that we really get to explore what Aurora was like growing up. We only get a flash cut in the actual animated movie. We actually get to see what kind of person she is, who shaped her, why her values are the way they are.
Alice, for all its faults, was a $1 billion grossing movie. Clearly people are invested in this, so that's why there's still room to grow here. It just doesn't have to be what they did in those first 2 films. There's a lot of things you can go with Alice as a character that have yet to be explored.
All right. Dan, thought?
I think Mia Wasikowska. And I'm sure that there's many classic animation fans who are yelling at us, Maleficent.
Thank you. Sorry.
Maleficent. Ooh, this is tough. Do you want my how I'm weighing in here?
Oh yeah, speed round.
Sorry.
Yes.
Apologies. I think that the path ahead was charted more clearly for me by Eric, very slightly. The idea of a third movie being used to go in a new direction, right the wrongs, versus maybe a little bit more of what we've seen in the first couple of Maleficent movies. I think that Eric's pitch was just a little stronger.
You know what, Dan? I'm going to have to agree with you. He painted like just that like there is so much interesting crap in Wonderland, and just like he piqued my interest for a moment. I didn't think that was possible in regards to Alice in Wonderland films. So just for that alone, I'm going Eric. It is all tied up.
Oh my.
3-3. Craziness. All right. Here is question number 3 of the speed round. Tangled or Frozen?
Tangled.
Frozen.
Ooh, they got what they wanted. So we heard Tangled from Vanessa first. Eric on deck with Frozen. Go ahead whenever you're ready, Vanessa.
Yes, Frozen had this song, but I feel like Tangled in the end is the better movie because not only do we get to meet more characters, but also there's something about Mandy Moore's voice work as Rapunzel where she's not just Rapunzel, she's not this old character that we've seen before, but she's a girl that just wants to break out and meet adventure. And then we have Zachary Levi, who's just somebody that wants a redemptive arc. We have those great moments in the bar.
Frozen has extremely lovable characters. It has one of the most famous and beloved songs ever, but all the songs are great in that film. But also at the center of it has this familial relationship, these sisters. It is not about a woman and her love of a man or a man saving her. It's about these sisters, their love for each other. The fact that Anna is not just saved by the love of her sister, she saves herself because of her love for her sister. It takes everything about Disney movies we thought we knew and it says we don't have to do that.
Olaf insists upon himself, and Rapunzel wasn't saved. If anything, she saved everyone around her by giving them an optimism that they didn't have before in a world that told them who they were and who they had to be forever. And Rapunzel said you could be more.
You know, Tangled is a pretty movie, but there's so few memorable moments and memorable songs. Frozen is iconic scene after iconic scene with a centerpiece that everyone remembers. It just sticks with you, it stays with you, and you always can tell that story to anyone.
Woo! How about it?
How about it?
Yeah. You know what? I feel like there was a little bit more passion about this, and you both had good points, but man, Vanessa's opening argument was a little bit hard to overcome, I thought. So, yeah, I'm going with Vanessa and Tangled. Danielle?
On this one, again, both great arguments, and I really felt Vanessa's passion coming through. But I've got to go with some of the points that Eric brought up with Frozen. You know, there was a real big whack when he mentioned it's not just that Frozen had, you know, those great iconic songs. Tangled songs are kind of not super memorable. And then also mentioning how it was a way to redesign the Disney way of doing things, where instead of it being someone being saved by a dude, these sisters save themselves and one of them saves herself. So I'm going to go with that.
All right, Dan, decide it.
Oh boy, yeah, this is opposite with my actual feelings, but I also have to go with Eric. I think it was just, I like Tangled better as a movie, but I think Eric made the better argument.
All right, Eric, you have vaulted into a 1 point lead. It's 4-3.
Game point.
All right, game
Eric
point.
Wins.
Game point.
Yep.
You need this to tie it up. All right, Vanessa. If they made a live-action Mickey Mouse movie, who should play him?
Ooh. Tom Holland.
Oh no. Paul Rudd.
Tom Holland. Paul Rudd. The correct answer is actually Kevin Hart, but that's okay. No, maybe not. Okay. 20 seconds on the clock for Tom Holland.
Tom Holland is nimble. Tom Holland is cartoony. Have you seen the way he moves? He's basically Steamboat Willie built in. He can bring that cartooniness into that real life aspect, and he's also just so young and fresh-faced that he has that like innocent boy charm that Mickey has when it comes to the way the world around him reacts to him. Not only that, but if you look at the way Tom Holland and Bluto,
Mickey Mouse has a youthful charm, but he's actually been around for decades and has a lot of wisdom to pass on, much like the internally youthful Paul Rudd. He can convey all of that. He can convey that youth, that charm, that whimsy, but at the same time, he's seen things. He has some things to pass on to people because he actually has lived a life and learned lessons that his friends and his loved ones can get from him, and they can actually learn a lot from him, and that's what makes him so perfect.
Paul Rudd is too sarcastic and also like self-aware to be Mickey. He's too cool to be Mickey. Mickey is a dork. Tom Holland is an adorable dork. He says the wrong things. He takes the wrong steps sometimes, which is Mickey.
Modern Disney is always self-aware, so that's why Paul Rudd is perfect. But also at the same time, he's not too cool for school. Paul Rudd is sort of a dorky guy, but he's a lovable and a handsome dork, and he can put all that into Mickey and make him the Mickey that we all love and more.
Wow. Good one. Good arguments.
Dan?
Yes.
Thoughts?
Mickey means something different to Eric than he does to me. I felt like I don't really need to learn anything from Mickey, or he's never really taught me. But I love the idea. Like, Tom Holland has this infectious energy. He's already very nimble. He has the spirit of that kind of carefree youth and whatever already in him. So I'm going with Vanessa. Vanessa won me over.
All right, one for Vanessa. Danielle?
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, as much as I love, I like when a lot of characters do kind of the nod, wink, wink. I don't think that that's Mickey. To me, Mickey screams sincerity. Well, he's more like, oh, sincerity. So with that in mind, I'm going to go with Vanessa.
All right, Vanessa, you've tied it up. This is True Game Point. Last question. Here it is. Who should direct Tron 3?
Taika Waititi.
Oh man. Michael Schur.
Who?
Michael Schur, the creator of The Good Place.
Okay, we have Michael Schur. We have Taika Waititi. Vanessa, you were first. 20 seconds on the clock whenever you're ready for Taika.
Taika has proven with Ragnarok that he could take a property that already exists and not only make it completely his own, but put a refreshing take on it. He's also shown that he can bring a lot of the color and the world that Tron would need, because again, with Ragnarok and his previous projects. Not only that, Korg is exactly the kind of character you'd imagine to find somewhere in Tron where he's just been trapped in the mainframe for years and years and years. And
the Tron movies are cool, but they're also cold, and that's why I really like the idea of Mike Schur. I know he's coming from TV, but plenty of people have made that transition, the Russo brothers among them, from TV to film. And so you take someone like that, you look at The Good Place, and it's got this whimsical idea, but it's also a very big idea. It's actually going to very big metaphysical places, big themes, and I think they can do that with Tron too. It's like he can go for the sci-fi route, but he can also give it a lot of heart, certainly some humor.
First of all, I want to see Taika play Master Computer, so that's going to happen. Not only that, but also when you look at the soundtrack for a lot of the things that he's worked on, he's very good at creating the atmosphere of what it looks like. And Tron has survived by the glory of its soundtrack.
First of all, Kristen Bell throwing a disc is something that would be amazing and going on one of those cycles. But also, yeah, it's just he has such a great pedigree behind him that he can bring, and you know that he mixes that humor and that heart and can put that into Tron.
All right. I felt that Vanessa were just leaning a little too much into Taika making a cameo or playing a character, whereas I felt Eric painted that much more of a picture of just jump-starting this world and what the director could bring. Even though you made good points regarding what Taika would do, like he did with Thor Ragnarok, I thought Eric just by a hair. Dan?
I actually going to go the other way. I think they both sold very well on tone and prestige, so that was kind of a wash. But I think what Vanessa had was that addition of not only what Taika brings to it as a performer, but right there at the end, I think that was a good point to the Daft Punk heads and everything else, is that Tron largely is about soundtrack. That's something that Taika Waititi has shown a good ear for, putting together the aural, A-U-R-A-L, aural world of his movies. So I think that little extra bit toward the end there put Vanessa over the top for me in a very close fight. I'm siding with Vanessa.
Okay, Danielle, decide it.
I'm literally going to decide while I'm sitting here thinking about it, because yes. We always say, like, I would watch both of these. I legitimately, for very good reasons. For me, this is like the battle of two of my faves who are my faves because they can combine both of these, like combine the big ideas along with being really funny at no one else's expense, along with just a lot of heart. So it really does come down to technical things. I do like Michael Shear. I think that The Good Place is doing a lot of stuff. I would like to see him do maybe something a little bit bigger before he did this. Vanessa had a really good point about how we've already seen how Taika would be able to tackle that. And so because of that, by literally like one of her green hairs, I'm going with Vanessa.
Vanessa, you just won movie fights. All right, Vanessa, well played, everybody. Eric, you took it to the limit. Scott, happy birthday, sir.
Happy birthday.
Vanessa, go ahead and give some shout-outs, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on @GRITTON on all forms of social media. Thursday nights, check me out on El Rey Network. And this Sunday, if you're in Los Angeles, at the Pack Theater at 9:30, Night Church is having our monthly sketch show. And this month, we have special guest Joe Starr for a Q&A. So come join us. Tickets are free on Eventbrite.
Super cool. Thank you, Vanessa. Well fought, well played. Scott.
Okay, well, you can catch me on KTLA TV reviewing movies every week, and you'll also catch me on Collider hosting an award season show called For Your Consideration. This is our second season. We're sponsored by ArcLight Cinemas this year, and we're doing an FYC screening series. So make sure you catch Collider videos For Your Consideration.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Eric.
The Eric Goldman on your socials, fandom.com. You'll see some of my articles and the We Enjoy Wrestling podcast if you enjoy wrestling or people talking about wrestling.
Super cool. Thank you so much. Well fought. Dan Murrell.
Yes, sir.
So, Dan, it's going to be Frozen 2
all
this weekend.
Frozen all the time, although I am holding out hope for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, a movie that I really, really like. But it doesn't need to do everything this weekend because it's the kind of movie that will, I think, set itself up to do well throughout the holiday season.
I agree.
But Frozen 2 is going to be huge this weekend. It will be the dominant #1 at the box office.
Yes, it will be the big snowballing into box office gold.
Could be looking at the biggest global debut for an animated film ever.
Whoa.
This weekend. We're in that kind of territory. We'll see. Find out on Monday, Charting with Dan, Fandom Entertainment.
You heard it here. Danielle Radford. Hi. Tell us some things.
Also, if you like wrestling, everyone has a wrestling podcast. I don't know. Does anyone here not have a wrestling podcast?
I don't have a wrestling podcast.
Top rope talk.
Only very, very few of us. But yeah, I have a wrestling podcast. We just moved days to accommodate the new wrestling schedule, so that's going to be coming out every Saturday from now on. It's called Titan Fights. It is on the Max Fun Network. I've also been doing this really fun project with Amazon Prime Videos, their YouTube channel. It's called The Red String, where I talk about some conspiracy theories about movies. Some of them are just like silly stuff that I make up, just mashing things together. Some of them are going to be me actually going through and talking about like conspiracy theories and fan theories that people have and kind of poking them to seeing if they work. So I'm really excited about that. Go check it out. And then also, watch Honest Trailers so they pay me.
Good stuff. Thank you, Danielle Radford.
Her salary is completely dependent on how many people watch every week. So
yes, that's $1 per click. Yeah. Just kidding. Thank you so much for watching. That's not how it works.
He said it on video. It must be true.
And I want to thank everyone for watching. I'm Hal Rudnick. Hit me up at Hal Rudnick on Instagram and Twitter. HALRUDNICK. Hoot hoot. Hashtag Owl Nation. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you, Billy Biz and Ryan.
This episode was brought to you by Verizon Wireless, launching the 5G Ultra Wideband network for ultra-fast speeds, ultra-low latency, and massive capacity. This is 5G built right.